morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad to see a lot of familiar names joining us in today. So I guess we are a good number now, so we should be able to start. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Caniero, trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, as usual, during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we identify trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John, who is here in the back office, so he'll be here to assist you. Whatever questions or queries you might have, so feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. But remember, any question asked in the Q&A section, I will respond to them all at the end of the webinar. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with sharing my screen. So let's start off with the watch list. Now, on the watch list today, in comparison to yesterday, you can see there's a big change to what we're looking at yesterday and what we're looking at today. So yesterday, our focus was looking for buying opportunities on the Japanese yen, the US dollar, and the Swiss franc. And remember, we did mention we're going to mix and match those pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So that was the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, the euro, as well as the British pound. You can see today, a number of pairs have moved from this from the sell side to the buy side. So today, our focus will be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc, the US dollar, and the euro. And we're going to look to mix and match all those three pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So that's the yen, the New Zealand dollar, British pound, Australian dollar, as well as the Canadian dollar. So let's first have a look at a few pairs that we did have yesterday, but we're not going to be looking at today. Before we do end up looking at a few screenshots, then we will focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias on this kind of pair was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, earlier in the morning, wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to react in this particular area. This was around 10 a.m. Now, once the London market was opening, remember, we did point out that wanted some sort of probe or some sign that big boy sellers were back. And you can see the price did end up ranging or at least grinding throughout the whole of the London session. At 3, the price looked as if it was attempting to hold above this particular area, which you can see at 4:30. That's when the price came back in. Could have looked for a selling opportunity there. You can see the price came back down all the way to this buyer's area, but you can clearly see the price never actually reached and held this level, even though it looks as if it was going to the downside. That's why we always encourage wait for confirmation, see whether or not the price is actually going to hold below. But you can see that was a probe. And later on, the price has continued to go up higher. So unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next pair we did have is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Similar story with all the yen pairs. Remember, the yen pairs are very much correlated. So when one thing happens on one, chances are it's also going to happen on the other. So you can see throughout the London session, we did end up getting the pullback. At 3 o'clock, the price attempted to go up higher, which you can clearly see. There was a probe right there. If you look at price action signals or candlestick patterns, you can see there was a pin bar right there at the top. And at 4:30, that's when the price managed to come all the way down lower, making sure to manage our trade within this buyer's area, because you can see if we did not, you can clearly see how the buyers came in aggressive. Even though right now we're back within this extreme area, this is a pair that could end up giving us issues today. And that's the reason why it is off our watch list. So moving on to the next pair that we did have was the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. And I did mention, it will sound like a broken record here because you can clearly see the same story ended up happening. During the London session, we ended up getting the pullback coming in. 3 o'clock, the price looked as if it was attempting to go to the upside, gave a nice probe right there. And at 4:30, the price really came down. Fortunately, could not get all the way till this main buyer's area down here. This one came slightly shy of it to some sort of support and resistance area right there. And you can clearly see afterwards, the price continued going up higher. So even though today we still might find the market coming down, there's a possibility we could also see it ranging. That's the reason why this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we did have, the British pound against the Japanese yen. Similar correlation happening with all of them, although this one did end up holding within this particular seller's area that we're hoping for. The price did look as if it was breaking this area to the upside, and it did at some point in time because the price was holding above, and you can see at 3, the price was going up higher. Seems that it did find some sort of support and resistance area right here, or it came back mainly to these sellers right there. So unfortunately, could not get all the way to the top. But you can see the pin bar, the same correlation at 4:30. The prices really did come down, but unfortunately, we did not get the price actually holding below this level. Since it wasn't breached, this pair did fall off our watch list. Even though we can see there was a slight opportunity today during the Asian session when the price did manage to come down, making sure bouncing off this area. Unfortunately for us, though, today, it is going to be off our watch list. Now, you can clearly see the same correlation coming in with all the yen pairs. So moving on to the next pair we did have the euro against the US dollar. Remember, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities on this pair. You can see the three areas that they had pointed out. But remember, I also pointed out that there were some sellers holding within the market due to the fact that that's where the price was pushed down from the day before. So I did mention we need to also watch out for that particular level, hoping that maybe we'd end up getting a better price, some sort of probe from this area. You can see it attempted to do that. So during the London session, it was just holding. You can see during the US session, where the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the upside, it ended up coming back quite aggressively, showing that this was just actually a huge probe. And at 3 o'clock, that's when the price actually ended up being able to come all the way down lower, able to break this area to the downside. You can see it didn't manage to end up making new lows. But unfortunately, since the fundamentals have switched, this is a pair that could potentially end up giving us issues today for the sells. And that's the reason why it is off our watch list for today. Now, moving on, did have the euro against the Swiss franc. Similar situation yesterday. Our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, during the London session, we did want to see whether or not the price was going to end up reacting within this seller area. Unfortunately, you can clearly see the price did not give us a probe. It actually ended up breaking and holding to the upside. So there was no trading opportunity just yet. So you needed to wait for the US market to open. You can see at 3 o'clock, the price looked as if it was holding within this area. It attempted to break this area to the upside, but it did manage to come back in. This one would have been a bit difficult to get because it does seem that it came back not to these sellers, but to some extreme sellers that were right here at the top. Remember, we always mention the price is buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So it didn't manage to get to that area. It did bounce off this particular area that we did have, but this one was tough to get. And you can see later on, as the prices have gone up, this pair did fall off our watch list, at least later on during the day. So that's it for all the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. So right now we'll end up having a look at a few screenshots before we do end up focusing on the pairs that we're going to be. So we'll start off here with the screenshots. We did have Andre. Andre did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity on silver. I did remember that we were waiting for the price to actually give us a pullback, and we'll have a look at silver later on. But you did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity right there. Price really came down in your favor. Your stop loss was already at break even, and then very happy to see you did manage your trade within this buyer's area. And you can clearly see if you don't manage your trade, the prices can easily come back within your entry point. So that's the reason why we'd always encourage you to at least closing some of your position does end up helping you. So you can see the price came down nicely. We did close within this extreme area, and you can see the price has pulled back very close to your entry point. So very, very good job on this trade, but at least you've made money on this trade, and it is already risk-free. It would have been a bad thing if you did not actually close some when the price comes back all the way to your entry point. You will end up feeling like it's a waste, and that's why the whole point here in trading is for us to actually make money. So very good job on that trade, Andre. And you didn't also end up grabbing a selling opportunity on the NASDAQ. And you can see, I think you did something similar as well on silver due to the fact that you grabbed the sell right there at the top. You can see you managed your trade within this first problem area where there were buyers. Once the price was able to break down that area, it seems that you managed a bit more. As the price came back to another problem area, you managed more as well at the end. But now you can see that the price came back up. This closing of the trade right here, this must have been where the trade actually ended up coming to stop you out at break even. But at least you can end up clearly seeing that you ended up making money on this trade. So it doesn't end up being a waste where you end up, don't turn a winner into a loser. That's one thing we always say. So very, very good job on those trades. Andre, keep up the great work that you're doing. So also next, we get Bravin. Bravin, we know you're a veteran here, and we know you do love trading your silver, and have to grab a very nice selling opportunity on silver right there. Right there at the top, already your trade is risk-free, but I do end up hoping, since we're within a buyer's area, that you did end up managing your trade. But we do know that you know what you're doing, but very, very good job on that trade, Bravin. And also next, we did get George. George Chege, he did manage to grab a selling opportunity on oil. Don't necessarily look at oil anymore, but very happy to see you did grab a nice selling opportunity there. After the sellers came down, we waited for a pullback. We did grab a selling opportunity as the price was coming down lower. Stop loss already below your entry. So very good job. Risk-free trade. And you can see your take profit within a buyer's area. So very, very well done this trade, George. So that's it for all the screenshots that we did manage to get. I want to thank you guys so much for everyone who did manage to send them in to us. We really do appreciate it. Remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. You should find a link or at least some contact details right there in the chat box that you should be able to send to us via WhatsApp. So let's jump into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side, then do the same thing with the US dollar as well as the euro before we do look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So starting off here, brand new entry on our watch list. We're going to be focusing on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. And on this pair, we're going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we do have these three areas of interest that we'll be looking at. So we can clearly see in terms of the market structure right now, it does seem to be in a range. So bouncing between these two levels, this price, as the price came down lower, it seems this was just a probe because you can clearly see the price does seem to be bouncing off these areas right here. So overall, we're looking for selling opportunities, and since it's ranging, we'll be very interested to see how the market reacts in this location, maybe getting some sort of probe or price action signal before we're able to look for selling opportunities. But remember, if the price breaks and falls above this area, chances that we could still be coming back up all the way to this main seller's area before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. But we are definitely going to be seeing, hopefully seeing some strength on the yen pairs. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on this currency pair. But this one is pretty clear cut. Right now, yes, we're at the top of the range, but remember, we need a big boy to move the market. So whether or not the London big boys are going to move it, we're not too sure, but we're very interested to wait and see what happens. So this is something to definitely keep your eye out on. But remember, if it breaks and holds above this area here, this pair, at least we'll be waiting to see if we can grab those selling opportunities at a higher price. Now, the next Swiss franc pair we do have is the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. And similar situation yesterday, our bias on this pair was to look for selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that we have pointed out. But today we are going to be looking for buys. But yesterday, the sells did end up working out, although a bit difficult, because you can clearly see, we're hoping to see whether or not the price is going to react within this area right here during the London session. That did not happen. The price continued going up higher. At 3 o'clock, it looks as if it was holding to the upside, trying to go up higher. It did end up bouncing off this seller's area. Unfortunately, it could not get all the way to our extreme seller's area right there. But you can see it was within that area at 4:30, and the price did manage to come all the way down towards this main buyer's area that we should have made sure we manage our trade from. But you can clearly see the same correlation coming in with all these Swiss franc pairs. The prices really did end up going to the upside, really showing us a lot of weakness. So today, the fact that the New Zealand dollar has switched and the Swiss franc has switched, we will be looking for buying opportunities today. So today we'll be focusing on these three areas to look for those buys. So right now where we are, we're within an area where the sellers, we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunity just yet. So the main thing we would want to wait and see, at least I would be looking for, is if I can get the price coming down, I want to see it coming down slowly, or potentially looking for a buying opportunity within this particular area right here. So I'm very interested to see how that pullback comes in, but be aware, if we don't see a reaction within this first area, we could end up coming down all the way to the main buyer's area, but also watch out for locations where buyers have reacted. You can see yesterday, that's exactly what happened, where within an area where the sellers, the price managed to come down, and it came down again. So even if today we have this level within the support and resistance area, don't be surprised if the price comes back all the way to this buyer's area and is still able to go to the upside. So just watch out for those market opening times, because you can see yesterday we're within the seller's area at 4:30, and that did give a nice selling opportunity. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, moving on, we did have the British pound against the Swiss franc in similar situation. Yesterday, we were looking for selling opportunities, and the sales did work out. But that's why it's very important for you to make sure you're managing your trade within these problem areas. You can see what we're expecting. Initially, the price was within a buyer's area during the London session. You can see the London big boys decided to give us a pullback throughout the whole London session right there. Wanted to see what kind of reaction would happen within this area. You can see at 3 o'clock, the price looked as if it was actually breaking this area to the upside. We did end up holding. Once the price got towards the main seller's area, you can see a huge pin bar right there at 4:30. That's when the market really took off. So you did end up seeing signs that big boy sellers coming in right before 4:30. And at 4:30, that's when the main move did end up coming down all the way to this buyer's area. But you can clearly see the price never broke and held below this area, meaning this was just approved. But today, we're going to be looking for buying opportunities since both the British pound and the Swiss franc have switched their bias. So overall, this is going to be our levels right here. So aggressive bias down all the way down here. So as long as we're holding above this area, we should be looking for buying opportunities. Now, right now we do seem to be getting a pullback. Let's see how this pullback comes in. It does seem to be coming in a bit aggressive. Look at the fact that the only two candles have taken out very many candles. So be very wary about such. We wait to see whether or not we get some sort of reaction, or at least the price holding above. But if not, don't be surprised if the price is able to even come all the way back down towards this area before we're able to find those buying opportunities. Potentially till this first of the area, if we're able to get this price breaking the upside, then we should be able to target all the way to the top. So this one, the fact that the pullback is coming in, we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Now, moving on to the next Swiss franc pair. Most of these Swiss franc pairs, yesterday we were looking for those sells. Today, now we're looking for the buying opportunities. So yesterday, the sell did work out. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out, looking for those selling opportunities. During the London session, remember, we didn't make sure, or at least wonder, if this market would actually gone to the downside, was it actually going to hold below? Because if it did hold below, we could have actually continued looking for selling opportunities there. But you can see the price came back in and was holding above at 10 o'clock. The London market opened, and you can see the pullback came in throughout the whole of the London session. And now, 3 o'clock, the price did spike up to the upside, maybe inciting a few more people to jump in on the late buys. But you can clearly see it did end up reacting within this seller's area. And at 4:30, we did end up getting the price coming down lower. We did end up making sure to manage our trade within this particular location, because you can see after that, the buyers really did come to the upside. But today, since the biases have switched, we will now be looking for buying opportunities, no longer selling opportunities on this. So we will be focusing on these 3 areas to look for those buys. Right now, we're all the way at the top. So right now, since the price is so high up, I don't think any of you would go to a store and ask for the highest price of an item. Ideally, you'd always want a discount. So let's wait. Right now, the price is at the highest. Let's wait for some time, be patient. Let's wait to see how the price can come down lower, potentially give us some sort of pullback, giving us a better price, potentially within this area. If we do see the buyers reacting within that location, we could definitely end up looking for buying opportunities there on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that is clear as we move on to the last Swiss franc pair we do have. Now, similar correlation coming in with all these Swiss franc pairs. Yesterday, bias was to look for the sells. Sells were a bit hard to get for a lot of these Swiss franc pairs, even though we can see they did end up working out all at 4:30. Because during the London session, all of them gave a pullback. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. We're hoping to see the price ending up coming back within either this area, not react within this location. It came all the way to the extreme area. It looked as if it was breaking to the upside, but this one would have been a bit difficult to get, because if this was a proper probe, what we should have been waiting for is, even if the price came down quite aggressive, waiting for some sort of pullback to continue looking for those sells. But the fact that we can clearly see the price did not do that, it just came straight to the upside, that really confirmed that the price had actually broken this area to the upside, and there was no trading opportunity after that. But today, our bias here is going to be looking for those buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas right here. So right now, we're within an area where the sellers. So definitely no looking for selling or buying opportunities just yet. Let's wait to see. Either can end up getting this pullback coming in within this particular area for us to look for the buying opportunities there. It could end up still breaking this area to the upside. And if it does end up holding above, it could end up continuing going to the upside. But would personally not, let me say, I would not be looking for such, right? I would rather wait for that discount to come in, potentially within one of these support and resistance areas. I'll watch out within this location first. If nothing happens within here and the price breaks to the downside, I'll wait to see. I know I'll still be looking for buys as long as I'm holding above this trend support and resistance area. So that's the game plan for all the Swiss franc pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc, all these pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to do the same thing with the US dollar pairs, then the euro pairs, before we do look at the indices. Now, here we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, in this current pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So we will be focusing on these three areas. Right now, where the price is at, it looks quite as if it's probed multiple times. You can see it gave us a probe. Right now, it's attempting to go to the upside. Right now, the fact that the price is holding below. This would be very interesting to see how this market actually ends up reacting in this area right here. Especially if we get the price holding below, we definitely could be ending up looking for selling opportunities there. Now, we've identified a major area right here. I know most people wonder why are we not targeting all the way down here? Because we have identified a major level here, so we do need to make sure we manage our trade, because that's a problem here. But remember, if we are able to get the price breaking and holding below this area, then we should be able to now come down with it, potentially now targeting within this area right here. It seems to be like the next problem area. This potentially seems to be some sort of probe, because as the price came down, it never seemed to hold up below, but you can see how many times it has actually held above. So if you do end up getting the price breaking and holding below there, then we could be coming down. But remember, if the price breaks and holds above this area, then ideally we would be still looking for the sell, but maybe at a higher price. So hope that's clear on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Pretty clear cut on what we're looking at doing there. We move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Sorry, let me just straight this out. Sorry, selling opportunities. Apologies for that. So we did end up identifying that this market was within some sort of range. Remember, I did point out that if we did end up getting the price giving us some sort of probe or a hold within this area, we could end up looking for a sell. You can see it did something similar. At 10, the price couldn't go up higher. It did manage to come down, but the buyers could not really take it anywhere during the London session, or even during the sellers could not even take it anywhere at that point in time. But you can see, since the London big boys couldn't do it, you can clearly see at 3 o'clock during the US market open, that's when it actually got the energy to actually come to the downside. And you can see it didn't manage to come down. Looks as if it was holding below, but later on, the fact that it has come back and is holding above, then you can clearly see that this pair did end up giving us a probe. Most of the time, ranges end up doing that quite a lot. So today, the fact that the fundamentals have switched for both the New Zealand dollar and the US dollar, we could end up finding this market turning, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still within this particular range. And if we're in a range, the best place to look for a buying opportunity would be at the bottom of the range. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting either a pullback coming in within this area for us to look for the buy, or could end up easily finding this price breaking this area to the upside. And if we pull back and hold above, then we should be able to continue with those buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So I hope that's clear, not necessarily jumping in on buying opportunities right now. There could be sells, but look at how aggressive the buyers are able to come up within this area. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, if the breach and hold above happens, then definitely we will be looking for those buys. Now, moving on to the next pair we did have. So this is the British pound against the US dollar. Similar situation yesterday. Our bias here was to look for selling opportunities, but today the buyers have switched and we'll be looking for buys. In fact, this is a trade that we're looking at yesterday that we just missed slightly. But remember, we did end up pointing out yesterday during the London session, the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the upside. It came down quite aggressive, showing us a nice probe. Remember, I did mention that we wanted some sort of pullback. That was just missed right there, where the price did manage to come back within this area, then did manage to continue. And it's a similar situation. During the London session, we did get the probe, but the market just ranged throughout the whole London session. And it was only at 3 o'clock. That's when the market did end up taking off to the downside. So it did end up giving a very good trade. Unfortunately, we did end up missing that pair. But bias today, so even though the price came down lower, the fact that the biases have switched, we will be looking for buying opportunities. There's a possibility that these buys could be the pullbacks. And you could find that everyone right now must be looking for those selling opportunities. And the fact that the fundamentals have switched, you could easily find that this market ends up bouncing, or at least grinding and continuing to go to the upside this whole day. And most people are still going to be just jumping in on sells, thinking the sells are going to come in. But remember, since we'll be looking for those buying opportunities, we'll just watch out for those areas. Wait to see. If we can end up getting the price breaking and holding above here, we should be able to look for those buying opportunities. Make sure to manage your trade within the seller's area. The fact that they've reacted one time, they could end up reacting again. And I'll also just point out one area as well. There seems to be also some sort of support and resistance area here as well. You can see the fact that this is where the buyers were holding, and the price, once it broke the downside, the sellers also did push from here. So just watch out for such locations if you are looking for your buying opportunities on the British pound against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation for most of these pairs. Yesterday, we're looking for the opposite side. So yesterday, we're looking for selling opportunities here, but today we're going to be looking for buying opportunities. So you can see in terms of the market structure, we do seem to be within a range. And remember, I did point out that even though we had this area highlighted, did mention the fact that the sellers here and they do seem to be reacting. We need to watch out for this location. And you can clearly during the London session, the price did end up ranging, attempting to go to the upside, but the price ended up holding within this area. And if you do note the time, that was at exactly 3 o'clock, and that did give a nice selling opportunity to come down. But you can clearly see the fact that we're within a range. The only time a level is broken is once we do get confirmation that the price is actually going to hold to the other side. So you can clearly see price came down, came straight back up. It attempted to break this area to the downside. Now imagine all those late sellers jumping in on selling opportunities right there did end up really crying right now. But that's the reason why we'd always encourage you guys to not chase the market, always wait for a pullback and wait for those confirmations. That confirmation will end up saving you a lot of money. So the fact that that ended up happening, you can clearly see the buyers now do seem to be coming in. Remember, the fundamentals have switched sides. So overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities, but we're fully aware of the range that the price was still within. So right now, we'll be looking for buying opportunities. We'll be focusing on these three areas. Right now, you can clearly see the price has managed to go up higher. It managed to break and hold above this mini range, but you can clearly see where this blue SNR is. And the price did manage to go to the upside. So right now, the price is here. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. The price falls above this area, then that confirms that this level has been broken, and that potentially gives us a buying opportunity, making sure to manage our trade within this main seller's area right there at the top. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last US dollar pair, which is the US dollar against Canadian dollar. Similar situation yesterday, our bias on this currency pair was to look for buying opportunities, and the buys did end up working out, but later on the prices really did end up playing around. So can clearly see the rest of the buyers came up. We did end up saying we wanted to see a pullback. Waited for the price within this support and resistance area, hoping that the price is actually going to bounce up and hold above. Unfortunately, that did not happen. You can see the price came to the downside and held below. You can clearly see the price continued coming down lower. Now, you can clearly see the price came back within this buyer's area, just slightly shy of it. But if you remember, take note of the time. So yesterday at 3 o'clock, within a buyer's area, you can see how the sellers came down quite slowly. You can clearly see there's a nice buying opportunity to take the price up higher. And it did end up giving us a pullback, confirming the price had actually fell above this area. So that could have given us another buying opportunity just before 4:30. But once the price was able to come up with this area and we did not get the price actually holding above here, definitely should have managed your trade. But you can see later on after the price came down, as the fundamentals have switched. So rather than looking for buying opportunities the way we had yesterday, the levels are pretty much the same. Because I mean, remember we interchanged the name support and resistance. It's because support does become resistance. So we'll still be focusing now today, at least on those selling opportunities, watching out for these areas. This is an area where there are buyers. But you can see the first time, look at how aggressive the buyers reacted. Now look at their reaction. So we wait to see what ends up happening. Potentially, if we can end up getting the price breaking this area to the downside. So if we get a breach and the price holds below, then we should be able to continue looking for those selling opportunities. But if not, and the price actually ends up giving us a probe and it comes back here, chances are we could even still get this pullback coming back all the way to this support and resistance area before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at doing on the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So we'll right now move on to the euro pair before we do end up having a look at the indices. So remember, guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them on the Q&A section. Now, here on the euro against the Japanese yen. Yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today, still going to be looking for those sells. But you can clearly see the three areas that we had highlighted yesterday. Aggressive sellers right there at the top. Price did not manage to get all the way to that area because you can see the same correlation that happened with all the other yen pairs that we had looked at, where during the London session, they continue giving us that pullback at 3. They attempted to push up slightly, and the price getting back within a seller's area. At 4:30, the prices really came down, coming all the way back down to the buyer's area that we had pointed out at the bottom. But now, unfortunately, we can't clearly see the price had ended up giving us a pullback. But the bias today for us is still to look for those selling opportunities. And we will still be focusing on these same areas because right now, if the price ends up looking as if it's broken this area to the upside, then there will be no trade for us, and at least this pair will fall off our watch list. However, we are starting to see signs that we can clearly see how the buyers are coming up quite slowly. And remember, one of the main things that we always look at is, do we need a better price than what we actually got? Because one thing I've noticed is that as the price came down, we got a pullback coming back to a seller's area. The sellers attempted to come down. The fact that they couldn't go lower, it means maybe that a better price than this is needed. And the fact that the price has gone up and you can see what kind of reaction is coming in. And right now, the way the buyers do seem to be slowing down, that's why we're still very interested in this red support and resistance area, because our hope would be, or at least what we'd be expecting, if this price actually is able to come back in and hold below, then there we should be able to find a nice selling opportunity to be able to come down lower. But watch out for those small supporting resistance areas that could give you issues. You can see there's an SNR level right here. The fact that the buyers pushed up a bit aggressive there, even if you get the price coming in and holding below, watch out for that level. You never know what they could do, but at least once we do get the price breaking that way to the downside, we should be able to do them coming down all the way down lower. I know those of you who have done our one mentorship and as well as in the AMP will know what I'm talking about right there. So moving on to the next euro pair that we do have, this is the euro against the New Zealand dollar. This is a brand new entry on our watch list. And if you do notice, the first thing we need to realize is the market structure. This market is ranging, bouncing between these two levels. And the fact that we are looking for selling opportunities right now where the price is at is definitely not a good place to look for yourselves. I would not say it's a good place to look for your buys either, because the overall bias is to look for those selling opportunities. One thing you might end up getting confused about, or at least might happen, is if you do end up looking for buying opportunities, thinking the price is going to go all the way there, you never know when these sellers are actually going to be able to continue coming down. You could end up finding the price just pushing till here, then you find it actually going to the downside. So that's why for now, what we'll be waiting for is either one of two things, because obviously we want the price to come up higher, but the best thing for us to do is wait for those selling opportunities, definitely potentially at the top of the range. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But this one, just following the structure, if you do end up getting that probe within here, there could be a sell, but I would not particularly encourage you guys to look for this sell right here. Just mainly because since the market structure, you do not want to be buying and selling directly in the middle of a range. But you do end up able to get the price coming back all the way till the top right there. I think that would be a bit better for us to end up actually looking for those selling opportunities. So let me just do this again. So if you do end up getting the price able to come up higher, potentially coming back all the way within this area, you can see how many times the prices have moved. But if you do get the price holding below, we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity right there. So hope that's clear, or at least if you have a lot of skill, you can be able to look for those buying opportunities there. But don't be surprised if the price ends up breaking this area to the downside and hold below, then definitely we are continuing those selling opportunities. Now, moving on to the next euro pair we do have, is the euro against the British pound, brand new entry on our watch list. And yesterday, or at least today, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. It does seem counterintuitive because based on the fact that the way the price has gone up, but if you can see, this market has been holding within this range. And the fact that the price went to the upside and came straight back in, especially when you look at it on a much higher time frame, you can clearly see this was just a probe right there. So the price never really broke that, broke that level. And it does seem to be still holding within this area. So that's why we'll be very, or at least still looking for these selling opportunities, but we'll be focusing on these three areas. Don't let this move to the upside confuse you, because I know we call those emotional candles. They get you excited. You start feeling emotions. You start feeling like you're going to end up making money, or you've missed out on a lot of money. But remember, all these people, as the price is coming down, guaranteed majority of people are looking for buys, just jumping in on buys. And it's only, this we've experienced this as well. The price comes down, you look for a buy, you see it going up, you're thinking it's going up, you buy there, you find it coming down. It's only once it actually breaks and holds below this area will people confirm that it's actually a sell and will no longer be looking for those buying opportunities. But for us, since we're definitely going to be looking for those sells, let's hope we will see if we can end up getting some pullback coming in within this area for us to look for the sells, or if we do end up getting the price breaking and holding below this area, we should be able to look for those selling opportunities as well on the euro against the British pound. So moving on to the next euro pair we do have, this is a euro against Australian dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. Here in this situation, our bias is to look for selling opportunities. You can see the way the sellers did come down. The Australian dollar showing a bit of strength coming in. So overall, bias here is to look for selling opportunities. We did manage to break this support and resistance area to the downside. And right now we're at the complete low. So what we need is a pullback to come in. Potentially, we'll be watching out within this support and resistance area. It has a high probability of reacting within this location. So we'll wait to see what kind of pullback we do end up getting within this particular area. Hopefully a slow one. And you find that at 3 o'clock or at 4:30, price within a nice seller's area, you could end up getting some nice selling opportunities here on the euro against the Australian dollar. Now, moving on, last but not least, we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Similar correlation as you're seeing, the way the prices have really come down lower, in the fact that when all of them were back within an area where they're buyers. So for now, we're definitely not going to jump in on those selling opportunities, because remember, we sell with sellers and buy with buyers. So the fact that the price is going to be here during the London session, one of two things could happen. Could end up either getting this pullback coming in, potentially within this area for us to look for our selling opportunity there, or we could end up easily getting the fact that the buyers might not react, the price actually breaking this area to the downside. And if it does end up holding below, then we should be able to continue with our selling opportunities on the euro against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at doing here. Right now, nothing much for us to do. We need either a breach for downside, or let's see if the pullback is going to come. So that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to look at the indices, then gold and silver. Then I can be able to address some questions in the Q&A section if there are any. So starting off with the NAS 100. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out, look for those potential sells. You can see during the London session, well, within this area, we did want to see whether or not we could get a pullback coming back in this main sellers area right there. And you can see that's what happened. In the London session, we grinded up slowly. At 3 o'clock, we attempted to go up higher, but you can clearly see at 4:30, price was back within this main sellers area. You can see the sellers really did come down quite aggressive. But we did have this support and resistance area right here. The fact that we came down, you should have first managed your trade. If the price pulled back and the fact that it did not hold below, then that could also be another signal for you to either exit your trade or not jump in that sell at all. Because you can clearly see the price did manage to continue going up higher. And once it did reach this area to the upside, ideally, this pair, not necessarily fall off our watch list, it now switched to biases and now did end up turning into a buyer's market. So today, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities on the NASDAQ. So right now, though, we're back within a main seller's area right there at the top, and we're at the highest point. And remember, you also want to buy with strong buyers. So if you compare how these buyers came up this first time right there, they look quite strong. And even look at the size of the candles, how far they are going. But now look at the next push. Not necessarily as strong, but still strong. Now, look at this next push. It does seem quite slow. So that's the reason why I would say not necessarily just jumping in on buys, thinking that right now it's time to buy. Wait to see. Hopefully, we can end up getting this pullback coming in. That's what we hope to see. Ideally, with either within this support and resistance area to go to the upside, or it could end up coming back down all the way to this main area. The fact that we broke this area to the upside and have not tested it yet, there's a possibility that we could easily be coming down here. So let's go to another one. So it easily could end up getting the price coming, holding below, coming towards this area before we're able to see those buying opportunities. Because remember, right now, everyone is jumping in buys. When will people turn into sellers? once the price goes past a certain level, and then now that's when they get confirmation that it is a sell. But for us, we know that at that point in time, it's just there to incite many people to look for the sells before we're able to jump in the buys. So hope the game plan is clear. Obviously, if we do get the price breaking and holding above, we should be able to continue with those buys, but we want to see an aggressive buyer coming in, not just a small buyer right there. So moving on to the next that we do have. So here we have the Dow Jones. Now, the Dow Jones yesterday, bias was to look for selling opportunities. Still is today. We've adjusted the level slightly, and we'll show you why just based on a higher time frame. But you can clearly see yesterday the price was ranging, holding within this support and resistance area. The fact that it was holding above, there was no selling opportunity just yet. You can see at 3 o'clock, it showed us it was attempting to come down. The price came back up. Looked as if it broke to the upside, but at 4:30, you can clearly see the price really came down quite aggressive. It seems that's the same thing that happened on most of these pairs. But similar situation, if the price came up, we did not get the price holding below, making that up probe. But remember, now when you end up going to a higher time frame, if you do realize, you can end up identifying the market structure. You definitely seem to be in a range, bouncing between these levels, and you can see ranges tend to end up giving you these probes. So the prices, even though it looks as if it broke in certain areas, you can see ranges tend to probe quite a lot. So for us now, we'll still be looking for sells, and that's why we've adjusted the level slightly, because we do not want to start jumping in buys within an area where there are sellers. So we'll be waiting to see what kind of reaction. You can even clearly see the way the buyers have started slowing down. Similar situation with the Nasdaq. So in this situation, we'll wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. Price holding below, should be able to look for selling opportunities. Definitely make sure you manage your trade within this fast for the layer. Could end up getting another opportunity if we do end up getting the price breaking and holding below that particular area. So these will be the areas we'll be watching out for. We'll wait to see what ends up happening within these locations. But for right now, we want to definitely see the price coming back in. We want to see aggressive sellers coming back in and the price holding below for us to actually look for those selling opportunities. So hope that's clear on the Dow Jones as we move on to silver. Now, silver yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. And you can see the areas that we had highlighted. Now, yesterday, it looked as if it was breaking this area to the upside. But remember, we did mention that it's still on our seller side until we did get the sellers coming in aggressive, or at least confirming that the price was actually holding above. So you can see that ended up happening later on during the London session. It looked as if it was holding to the upside. But you can see at 3 o'clock, the price really did come down lower, gave a pullback, confirming that the price is actually holding below, because you can see the price came up and came back in, showing us confirmation it's holding there. You can see there was a selling opportunity at 4:30 to be able to actually come down with it. But you do not manage your trade within here. Remember the way we mentioned, Andre didn't manage to grab his nice selling opportunity right there at the top, and he did manage to end up closing most of your trade here within these problem areas. And you can see if you don't do that, this could easily end up happening. So the fact that today price has gone up higher, we've adjusted the level slightly because we ended up having a look at the much larger time frame. And you can see the market does seem to be showing something similar. Even though there are some big major sellers right here on the 1 hour time frame, we're back within a major support and resistance area. As you can see, look at how the sellers react every time it approaches there. With the way the sellers came down, look at this push of the buyer. They do seem to be struggling in comparison to the seller. Then look at the way the seller came down. That's a sign of big boy sellers, because that the way this move came down looks similar to these sellers that came down right here. So right now, in the way the buyers are coming up, potentially still struggling, we will still be looking for sells, because here we're still expecting potentially the market to actually end up coming back down lower, kind of aggressive before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. And if we do get the price breaking and holding below this fast support and resistance area right here, then we could even be coming down lower. As you've seen on the much larger time frame, the 1 hour time frame, potentially within this huge range. So if this level is able to be broken, it could even be coming down all the way to the main buy area down there at the bottom. So this is the area that we will be watching out for. So I hope that's clear on the game plan. Ideally, these pairs like to incite many people. So right now, definitely, most people are jumping in on their buying opportunities. No one is really jumping in on sells yet. We're within an area where the sellers have seen signs of big boy sellers, but we need some sort of catalyst to move this. So the fact that today We also have a lot of fundamentals. Remember, Thursdays, usually we do end up getting a lot of, we do get the jobless claims, and interest rate decisions is coming out for the euro, but usually on Thursdays, the US dollar, we do end up getting jobless claims, job news anyway, unemployment news as well. So there usually is a lot of volatility on Thursdays. So watch out for this 3:30 timing. We could end up finding some nice opportunities here on silver. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now in gold, yesterday our bias was to look for those buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. The bias is still to look for those buying opportunities today. So we'll be focusing on the same areas that we did have yesterday. But right now, we're back in an area where the sellers, so definitely do not want to jump in on any buying opportunities right now. But you can see yesterday, initially we wanted to see how the price was going to hold to the upside. It did look as if it was holding above, but the buyers did not really show themselves. And you can clearly see at 3 o'clock, the price really came down just to pull back towards this buyer's area. We saw the price probing, showing us confirmation that the price was holding above this area. And that was around 4:30. Even if you took your trade at 4:30, but this trade moved at around 5:30 later on, you can clearly see coming back to this main seller's area right there at the top. So it could potentially be jumping into some sort of range. So overall, we'll still be looking for buying opportunities. Could end up getting either the price breaking this area to the upside, getting a hold for us to look for the buy, or we could end up easily getting the price giving us a pullback within one of these support and resistance areas for us to potentially end up looking for those buying opportunities as well. But for right now, we do need to be patient. We're within a seller's area and we're looking for buyers, so there's nothing much for us to do just yet. So we need either a breach or a pullback to come in for us to actually look for those buying opportunities. So I hope that's clear on all the current pairs and what the game plan is that we're looking at. So this is the watch list for today. Remember, in terms of fundamentals, nothing much is coming out during the London session. We do have some speeches, so you can see some euro speeches, but nothing really is going to change the fundamentals. But you can see from 3:15, the euro is having some interest rate decisions, so expect some volatility on the euros at 3:15. So as well as 3:30, we have some jobless claims. So from 3 till 3:15, 3:30, 4:30, do end up expecting the markets will end up moving quite a bit. So there could be some nice trading opportunities, especially during the US session today. So that is it for all the pairs. I'm not seeing any questions, which is okay. Excuse me. At least we do have a few minutes before the London session does end up opening. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. A number of those yen pairs do look interesting. So we'll wait to see how they end up reacting. So we have the US dollar against the yen, looking very interesting, as well as the euro against the yen, looking very interesting as well. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening with these pairs. So I guess that's it for me, since I'm not seeing any more questions. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. We really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have found value in these sessions. Remember, we're doing these sessions for you guys. So if you do have any trouble or having issues, please let us know. If you want us to adjust anything, try and change certain things, or you're requesting some more information, just let us know. We are doing these things for you guys. Remember, we're not just doing it for ourselves. So I want to thank you guys so much. Feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.